I was just trying to drain my pool. That's it. No party. No fireworks. No cannombas. Just a hose, a quiet afternoon, and some maintenance that had been long overdue. But when you live next door to Karen Barbara Ruth, even your pool water becomes a problem. I'd only lived in that neighborhood for 6 months. Moved in after my divorce. The house needed work, but it had character in the backyard. My own slice of peace, or so I thought. Barbara introduced herself the first week. Late 50s, surgically precise eyeliner, and a chihuahua named Champagne who barked like a smoke alarm. She wasn't the waving over the fence type, more like the clipboard in hand, HOA rulebook quoting type. I tried to stay cordial, said hi, kept my yard neat, but I knew from the start she had a problem with everything. It started with noise complaints. Not actual noise, just sound. My son, a teenager, once laughed too loud during a backyard barbecue. Citation: leaf from my tree fell in her yard. Complaint: but the day I started draining the pool was when she lost it. Barbara marched into my yard like she owned the deed. No knocking, no warning. You can't do that, she snapped, pointing at the pool hose like it was a weapon. I blinked. Excuse me. It's against HOA regulations to drain water into the street, she huffed, filming with her phone. That water could flood the storm drain and create an environmental hazard. I explained, politely, that I had a legal backflush valve. I showed her the permit. She ignored it. Instead, she dialed 911. Yes, you heard that right. Barbara called the cops. Over chlorinated water. By the time the officers arrived, I was standing in a wet driveway, holding a bucket of filter parts, feeling like I'd stumbled into a sitcom. But the officers weren't here to arrest me. In fact, they were more interested in her. Turns out, while Barbara was reporting me, a completely separate investigation had quietly begun, and she'd been on their radar for weeks. One of the officers, a woman in her 30s with tired eyes and a sharp mind, pulled me aside. "Sir," she said, "can we ask you a few questions about your neighbor?" I was stunned. "Barbara?" She nodded. "Do you happen to have any footage of her accessing your yard or tampering with anything on your property?" I paused. "Actually, I have a ring cam facing the back fence." What she told me next made my jaw drop. Barbara Ruth wasn't just an overzealous neighbor. She was under federal investigation for property fraud, identity manipulation, and possibly running a small ring of homeowner scams targeting seniors and veterans. She'd moved into the neighborhood under a false identity. Her real name was Nancy Ellen Weller, and she'd been operating under aliases for years. Apparently, she would get herself appointed as HOA president in older communities, then manipulate fines and fee structures to pressure owners into selling, all while buying properties through shell LLCs and flipping them for massive profit. Want to guess what her next target was? My house. I gave the officers everything: footage, reports, even emails she'd sent me with suspicious tone. They thanked me and told me to keep things normal. Meanwhile, Barbara kept pretending nothing had happened. She even invited a city inspector to my home the next day, probably hoping I'd get fined and flinch. But 2 days later, she vanished. The neighborhood lit up like a gossip bonfire. She was arrested at a gas station, my neighbor Tom said. "FBI got her," said another. All I knew was this: a moving van pulled up. Her house was sealed off. Champagne was gone. Weeks passed. Then, one afternoon, I got a knock on my door. It was the same officer, this time in plain clothes. "Mind if I come in?" she asked. "There's something you should see." She showed me a file. Barbara, or Nancy, had targeted over 11 homeowners in 3 states. One elderly couple had lost their house entirely. "She was going after you next," she said, flipping the folder closed. I stood there stunned. All because I drained my pool? No, it was more than that. Barbara, Nancy, hated people who didn't play by her rules, because she was gaming the system the whole time. The HOA, they issued a public apology. Turns out, Barbara had forged documents to make herself an acting compliance officer. She was never elected, never even vetted. Her house, it was auctioned to repay some of the victims. The new owner? A retired firefighter named Leo. Cool guy, loves gardening. And me? I finally finished draining my pool. No cups, no drama, just peace. And a ring cam, always rolling. At the Mirror Moves, we don't just tell wild neighborhood stories. We show how truth bubbles to the surface, one drop at a time. If you've ever dealt with a neighbor from hell, or uncovered something darker than anyone expected, you're not alone. Hit the like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. Your voice matters. And sometimes, justice really is chlorinated.